Hi guys, thought I'd come on and make a quick, really simple and easy few ingredient recipe that I'm going to eat for supper. I got it from a website called the Cookie Rookie, I think. I will link the recipe below, but I have adapted it to be a little bit more Weight Watcher friendly. It's kind of a slow process. Not really, but I'm caramelizing some onions right now. I won't be ready to eat or even make the rest of it for a while, but I like to kind of cook my caramelized onions really slow and just let them cook. So I'm going to do that part, and then when it comes time, I'll make the rest of it, but I wanted to show you what you would need. So this is one, I'd say medium-sized onion. Now the original recipe does not call for onions, but I love cooked onions, so it adds a little bulk to the dish. So one onion, I'm just cooking it with a little bit of salt. I'm just trying to let them cook really slow and caramelize and get really soft and brown. Then I have 1 pound of chicken. When I get chicken at the store, I clean it and then I cut each one breast in half this way to get like 4-ounce pieces. There's 4 in here. So that is the chicken. There is 49 grams of these croutons. These are my favorite because they're really, really crunchy. I'll show you the back. 2 tablespoons. So what I did in the recipe maker was I started with like 3 tablespoons and I just kept moving that up until it changed points, if that makes any sense. I wanted to keep it the same. So for the same amount of points in this recipe, I could have anywhere from 3 tablespoons to 7 tablespoons, which changed a lot. It says on the back of the package that 2 tablespoons is 7 grams, so I did 49 grams of croutons. So that's a pretty fair amount of croutons. And then 2 cans of French onion soup. And I'm going to use the Jarlsberg cheese because I love it. You could certainly do like the ultra thin Swiss, or you could do provolone, or you could even do a shredded cheddar, whatever you desire. But I'm going to have it with some Brussels sprouts, and there's still some mashed potatoes left from last night, so I'm going to let the kids eat the mashed potatoes, and I'm going to roast this acorn squash for me. So I'll kind of walk you through it now. I'll tell you what you do now, and then I'll walk you through the rest of it. So after the onions are caramelized, you're going to take those out of the pan. You're going to cook the chicken in the pan. When the chicken is browned and mostly cooked, you are going to add the onions back to the pan and the soup. And then you're going to let it simmer and kind of cook out a little bit. And then at the end, you top it with the croutons and the cheese. And I think if I remember right, you just put the cover on it and let the cheese melt. You could certainly brown it in the oven if you wanted the cheese to be brown and bubbly. Kind of all depends on how you want to cook it. But I'm going to let these onions cook. It'll probably take a good half hour, 45 minutes. So if that's not a step you want or don't have time for, you could certainly just cook the onions a lot faster or take them out altogether. But I really like the onions, and it is, I don't know, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and I have a little bit of free time, so I figured I'd throw them on while I'm doing dishes and cleaning up the kitchen. So I will come back and show you the other steps when I get there. Hi guys, so it is time to make supper. So I'm going to try to walk you through the other steps of the French onion soup chicken. I have the Brussels sprouts and the squash in the oven. I have 4 pieces of chicken here that I patted dry, salt and pepper and garlic powder on one side, and when we put them in the pan, I will season the other side. So I'm going to use some pan spray and spray my pan that is getting warm. When it's warm, I am going to cook the chicken on both sides. I think the recipe said 4 minutes, but I'm just going to cook it until it's cooked. I don't want it to be raw. Obviously, you don't want raw chicken, but I don't want it to be uncooked at all. So I'm gonna bring you with me here. I'm gonna put it in the pan, season side down. I am not using the same pan that I cooked the onions in, just because that was a couple of hours ago and that pan was a lot smaller, so I wouldn't be able to fit it all in. I didn't get very many onions, only about maybe a half a cup, but it will add good flavor to the chicken. Sink. We're going to use these once to flip, and then I'm going to put those in the sink too. Always season. Okay, so I am going to cook the chicken until it's cooked. I'm going to flip it over, cook it on the other side, and then we'll be back. Okay guys, so this chicken has been cooking, I'd say for about 10 minutes total. This piece right here is a little bit bigger than the rest. I'm just giving it a minute to cook. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to add, it says to add the croutons now. I am not all about that because I don't like them to get gummy and mushy. So I add those at the same time I add the cheese. But we're going to add both cans, both cans of soup. And the onions that we cooked, I washed the tongs so they are clean. I turned the heat down a bit. Just want to give those a little wiggle, make sure the soup gets underneath them. I'm gonna let this cook for, I don't know, 10 more minutes or so. So I will bring you back and let you see it before I put the cheese on it. So stay tuned. Smells delicious. Alright guys, this chicken has been cooking for a little over 10 minutes. I have kind of poked each piece just to make sure that it's all cooked. I'm a freak about chicken. I'm always afraid to get that first bite and have it be raw. And if it is, I won't eat anymore. So I'm going to sprinkle in this 49 or 47 or however many grams of croutons it is here. Which some of the pieces were bigger, so I just broke them up. So I'm going to do that, kind of spread them around. And then I have 4 pieces of the Jarlsberg Light Swiss from Trader Joe's. So I'm going to put that on. Try to move the croutons so that it can... Okay, and then the recipe just says to shut it off and let it cook, let the cheese melt. I actually have cookware that can go in the oven. My Brussels sprouts are out and look beautiful. I have a piece of chicken in there for my kids. They aren't too keen on onions. And I still have my squash in there, so I'm going to put this in the oven. Bye-bye, little friend. And then what I'm going to do is just shut the oven off. And I'm going to start fixing our plates and clean up a bit, and I will show you when I plate it up. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, this is the finished product. Doesn't it look delicious? So I'm going to plate it up and then I'll show you my plate. Okay, so this is my plate. I have one piece of the chicken, and then I scooped out the onions and the croutons that were right near my piece. So I put everything into the recipe builder. And sorry, I'm drooling over here. The chicken is each 6 points. The acorn squash has half a teaspoon. I used 1 whole teaspoon between the 2 halves of the I Can't Believe It's Not Butter Light, so that is 0. And I have about 1.5 cups of Brussels sprouts, and they just have a little cooking spray, salt, pepper, and lemon pepper on them. So those are free. I know people talk a lot about vegetables and serving sizes. When I eat fruit, I try to only eat a serving at a time. A cup of loose fruit, usually just 1 banana at a time. I try not to eat more than 1 serving of fruit. But vegetables, I feel like, even though I know they have calories and such, I would much rather eat an extra bit of Brussels sprouts than another half a piece of chicken. So I'm okay eating portions bigger than a serving of vegetables, and that's just me. You, of course, can do whatever you want. I've talked before that I like a full plate. I don't feel like I'm getting enough to eat unless my plate is full. So I try the hardest that I can to fill at least half, if not more, of my plate with vegetables. So that's just the way I do it, but you are free to do whatever you choose. But this is going to be my 6-point supper, and I cannot wait any longer to eat. After supper is tracked, I still have 7 points left. I do not think that I will have anything else today, but I will check in with you after supper.